Yeah, I think today's talk is going to be more around focus towards design. How do you address designing for the right audience? Who's going to consume the content from your website? What kind of audience you're looking at? What kind of persona that you're looking at? Trying to understand them and trying to cater to that kind of audience. Quick introductions here. I'm Piyush. I work as the Director of Technology with QED42. With me, I have Prerna. Prerna works with the design team. I'll let her introduce herself. But yeah, I think we'll get started. So today's talk, it's basically designing for low digital literacy. This is based on a case study. This is based on a recent project that we launched for UNICEF, Laaha, which is a forum platform meant to support GBVI, which is gender-based violence in emergencies. We are QED42. We are a digital experience company based out of India. We do everything from designing till delivery. Over here, we're going to talk a little bit about how do you cater to low digital literacy. What are the few things that you need to take care of right from discovery phase till the delivery of design and then iteration over it wherever there is a need to. Because when you're dealing with people with low digital literacy, there's possibility that at one point of time you might receive a feedback that this is probably what would work for me, but then when you're doing a user testing again with them, no, this doesn't work for us. We'll have to reiterate over it. So yeah, that's the kind of model that we went into with UNICEF, and we will try to walk you through it. And then towards the end, we will probably do a quick chat about any one of you who have faced similar situations in the past, sharing experiences about it. All right. With that, we'll kick it off. I'll let Prerna take over and talk about what we did for UNICEF here.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Piyush, for the introduction. I'm Prerna, hailing straight from New Delhi to Barcelona. And it's my first DrupalCon session, so I'm super excited and a little bit nervous about it, so please bear with me till the end. As Piyush explained, that we will be talking about understanding the low literacy, digital literacy users, and then we will talk about how we can design for them, making more accessible and inclusive designs, storytelling about case study of Laaha, and in conclusion, we will talk about benefit for users. So, meet Sophie. Sophie is you have Sophie around you. She is a manager. She works in a company and she delivers her work on time, meet her deadlines, manages her team. But when it's come to dealing with technical jargons, understanding advanced digital technology, she struggles. So, according to UNESCO, around 773 million adults they lack basic literacy skill, and women among them, basic chunk of women among them, it's 2/3 of these 773 millions of low literacy adults. So we will understand what digital literacy is. So when the user find it difficult to read, write, and understand the digital platform to do their day-to-day task and to participate in the society, which can affect them when they are not able to understand the content easily, that may lead to fraud, privacy issues, and incorrect misinformation. So that's the problem that they can face if they are not well educated digitally. So the 5 challenges are complex language. So having technical jargons and fancy words that can make the website may look beautiful, but user might face difficulty understanding them. Lack of visual guidance, that is not giving them step-to-step guide, what's the platform is about, and not giving them visual clues to understand. Overload interfaces, having a lot of animation and making the website load slower because of that, and that can lead to user not able to see what's on the website. They can miss the touch points, that is call to action, and in short they can have difficult in navigation. the platform. So let's see how we can design for low digital literacy. So everyone should understand what your platform look like, or they can understand your digital product no matter their literacy level. First is storytelling is a key. So emphasize on storytelling. Even if you are designing a poster and illustration, we have storytelling in our mind so that user can connect emotionally to that poster or graphic design or a website. So it's not that how beautiful you can make the visual, but how simpler to understand and the user can understand and connect with that. Accessibility features, for instance, knowing the colors, what users prefer color, and color schemes, icons, and font size. But it's important to understand that not all colors work for users. We can there's this black and white that works the most, and it is accessible for all users. But we can also understand what other color scheme can work in it. So accessibility, we only talk about colors and font. Is it more that we can look into? Focus on iconography. So having simple icons, not exactly the icons that are looking pretty in your website, but icons that are familiar with the users. For example, how sign language and icons are pretty much similar. So when you see how to open a book and an icon, you can use a icon that is very similar to everyday life, how people actually use icons in their day-to-day life. It's not only the website or digital platform, but also in the signage, how they do with the sign languages. Even if I want to say that I'm going via flight, so I will just do this action instead of do another action. So we can make an icon that is very similar to that and very simpler. So it's not about only beautiful icons that we can use, but how mindfully we can incorporate the icons that are also very inclusive to other users, and mostly all the users they can see. Even if you see the stop icon, we can either use a word, or mostly if we don't want anything, we just say stop. I don't want this. So we can use a palm. So that's how we can incorporate the icons in the platform. Simple language. So the thing I talked about, fancy words. So having a lot of fancy words and a lot of content can confuse the user, and they can just leave your site or just leave your platform, go to another platform. For example, I have two headers banner, and in one the both of the banner are telling the same thing. And in the first banner, it's about engage in ecosystem design to foster secure and inclusive environment for women. So it's a very big line, we get it, okay, it's an environment, it's for women because women are standing in the illustration, and that's it. But in the second, there's this visual that is more warm, that is making user feel more warmer to the header, and they can see that join a safe supportive space for women. So it's pretty simple that how we can put the content pretty simply and use the visual that is giving warmth and emotional connect to the users. So we understand that user with low digital literacy feel supported and confident using our platform, and we have to incorporate that in our designs. And how there's this simple formula that we can learn, that effective design is equal to it's simply clear visual clue, simple navigation, and plain language that is understandable for everyone. So I will go through the Laaha. So how did we make this effective design in our user forum Laaha? So Laaha is a virtual safe space for women and girls that provide them information on sexual, reproduction health, gender-based violence, as well as they provide them immediate help, how to access services when needed in a very safe, culturally appropriate and accessible way. So we have phase one for this, where we have the challenges, where we got through the workshops, through insights and research. We got to know that the users want privacy and anonymity in the platform, but they still want to stay connected and support from the platform. And the other challenge was to give them urgent help. If they are having immediate help or urgent emergency, we can give them touch points so that they can go to the urgent help immediately through the platform. Then there was the third challenge, to make them feel more connect and share. So they can connect and share with the other women, their peer, and feel more connected in the platform. So this was our phase one design, where we have the header, where we are showing the exit website quickly, and then we have a banner about welcome to the Laaha. Then there's this a lot of action points. Then there's these two main CTAs, that is ask a question and share answers. Then community conversation. You can also go through the categories and topics. There's this search. Then have a question. If we want to ask a question, we can ask here. And then we have the cards that are stacked up. Safety guidelines, guardians that are moderators. We can also show them around here. And then we have all the cards that are stacked up vertically, coinciding with each other. If we want to reply, we can click on reply, and then we have the guidelines. Guidelines about the guidelines. You can read about the community guidelines, and you can reply. So this design was gone for the testing for the real user in Venezuela, and we got the major insights that it is pretty much clustered. There are a lot of things that a user not able to understand. There are a lot of CTAs here and they are not able to reply. The main thing they are not able to do, that is ask question, because there are a lot of cards stacked up side to side, and also they are not able to understand where to go, how to search, and why there is a category, why this topic. So the first thing, the positive reply we got, that they are happy with the forum. They love the forum, that it is solving the problem, but they just want it more simplified. So in our challenge, the other challenge, our phase two, we have to solve the navigation issue, where users have difficulty navigating the platform. They are not able to understand the CTAs, where they can click. Then other was to preserve the design system. So we can't play around a lot with the components. We have to preserve it, and we still have to find a solution to make it more simpler. So what was our approach? We revisited research that was done in phase one, and we reviewed the feedbacks of the testing. We go through them thoroughly, all the Venezuela feedbacks. We incorporate the user feedbacks into the design improvements. Then internally, we connected with the designers and also the stakeholders, with the clients, to get it reviewed again and again. Then we created a prototype for additional user testing. Then we submitted the final design for approval. So first thing that we did was declustered UI. We have to make it, it's not always that you have to add something to make it more engaging, but we can also delete it, and we can also make more usage of, if we are adding, for example, in the cards, we have added emoticons. So since it's a platform of women and they want to express, they want to tell how they are feeling. Sometimes they don't want to write it down, maybe they just want to express. So we have added emoticons for them, and instead of having a reply in a modal or just swiping in, we can just comment on it directly, and we can also see the reactions. Other thing was clear visual clues. So there were a lot of CTAs that were there. So we removed everything. Like, we have kept only three main things. That was a guide, help, and quick exit. And there's just a simple banner where we have the title and a video that is about the community guidelines. So we have used to have a lot of CTAs around that, so that was pretty much confusing. So that's why we have to remove it. Shorter and simpler journey. So as you can see in the old design, we have a lot of cards, but if we are making this was making user very much overwhelmed with the questions. But if we present the question one by one to the user, they can read it, they can decide, and they can react, and it will be more hassle free for them. Registration, so at first we didn't have we have a progress indicators, but in the new one we had a window for that, where if we are changing the username and other steps, it can reflect in that window very nicely, so that they can know at what step they are. Instead of having a username and like a lot of inputs, you can have the step one by one. User profile, so also for the user profile we had a lot of filters, so we just kept it for questions and comments, and we moved the filters on the left, other filters, and stacked the cards one by one, so it is more readable and users are able to understand it more easily. So this was our new design for the forum, where we have the community questions, where we have the simple, clear search, and only we remove the choose topic. We only kept choose category, and all most supported and unanswered question as a filters. Then when you navigate through the question, you can see question one by one, and on the other side you can ask question whenever you want, and you can see your safety guardians that are moderators. And if you want to react, you can react, and also you can comment on it. So we have also sorted it out, as in commenting here and there, here in the platform only, not going through a modal, or you can react also. So this was the new design that was more simpler and more easy to use than the other one. Also, we worked on the responsiveness. So when we are talking about low digital literacy user, we should also take note of how we are designing for the other screen, that is mobile, because most of our users were using mobile only. So we try to make it more simpler, use a more space in the mobile, and try to make it. We also worked on the fonts, and it was mostly how readable it is. So if you can see, the question are stacked up nicely, and that's how we also design for the mobile. Then we understand that after all these things, it is the best way to design for user with low digital literacy is to test. And it is important, if you are designing, you should go with the real user and get your design tested, so that you can get what's the real issues are with your design, because you can see that, yeah, it's working for me, but maybe it's not working for the real users. So effective design can be clear visual clues, simple navigation, plain language, and I would say continuous improvement that you can do after testing. Like even this design is gone for testing, and we will get the feedback. So this process is ongoing. So we will have the phase 3 again, and we just want a platform that is more inclusive and more safe for women. So we are on it. Okay. Um, okay. We will.
Yeah, I think we can take any questions or any questions on the tech side of implementation or any challenges that we faced. Any questions on either the design or the tech front for this implementation is something that we can take up. Alternatively, feel free to share your experiences, guys.
Hi, I'm Simon. Aside from I participate in W3C committee accessibility group, and I was yeah. So
Nothing changed.
Okay, now, yeah. Hi, I'm Simo, and in addition to Drupal, I participate in W3C Cognitive Accessibility Community Group. And I was wondering, when you were doing the user testing, were you able to identify some disabled users for testing, such as maybe learning disabilities? And did you find did you have findings that were supporting low literacy users but were not supporting cognitive disability users?
I think I'll take this one. So, yeah, I think we did actual user testing on this one. So we were in Lebanon and Venezuela. Once the prototyping was done, we were doing the actual testing with the real users who are going to use the system. One of the biggest challenge definitely was like these users not being able to understand how to get to the forum in the first place. There were solutions which are implemented, like implementing guided tours. In context of your specific question about being less enabled folks, I think what we implemented there was being able to run it through WCG AA was supported there, and being able to implement screen readers for them to be able to understand and get to the right step when they need to access the forum. So forum was one of the interesting piece because phase one of this project already provided the information in a readable format. So in a one-way communication where it acted as like articles available for people to consume information from. Phase two was primarily focused on making it more interactive, more like a peer-to-peer communication, where people can build a community around these specific issues that they face, and have a safe place to chat about it. So it was more important. The phase two success factor was on ensuring that people are able to connect to each other. What we so in terms of real user testing, we didn't run into that scenario to answer your question, but yes, we implemented screen readers and other accessibility guidelines to ensure that we are complying with WCAG 2.0.
Hi, thanks for the talk. I was curious how you've dealt with internationally recognized iconography or pictures and people selecting those. I missed whether the project you primarily spoke of was based in a single country or over several countries, but trying to choose those things in a way that will speak to lots of different people, and not just internationally recognized, but for low digital literacy, seeing something like a burger menu may not necessarily work for people who have not spent a lot of time online or something like that.
So simplified UI was definitely one of the key principles that we followed there, keeping it as simple as keeping things visible right in front of users for them to access it, rather it being hidden behind a model or behind any other. Basically, taking the user to do an interaction before they see content. What we also implemented was guided tours to ensure that, and guided tours were implemented every actionable step. So, for example, when you're registering, when you're posting a comment, people could see how and what to do there. In terms of specifically the question about iconography, the choice was made available to the customers, to the users. For example, while you're registering, so the system also required us to maintain user confidentiality, and that's where we also wrote a custom module, not going by the regular Drupal registration process, but a custom registration process where a random username would be generated for every user, so that username doesn't get captured and doesn't get exposed to anyone else. We didn't take in user email address even during the registration process. At step 2, users had an option to choose from a set of avatars which are available based on their ethnicity, based on their the region that they belong to. There were different iconography which were made available to them, and to cater to let users make that choice, basically how they want to see themselves on the platform. Basically, that's the model that we followed. Thank you.
Hi, I'm from Lund University from Sweden. Thank you for a really good work through what you've been doing in Venezuela.
Yeah.
Laaha? Yeah, cool. Well, I have a question. I think when I tested or we test accessibility on our website, we used a blind person, and the blind person told us there was too many links, and it was what you did. You tested with a person who was actually was the for the object. Did you find that in the main navigation and linking, and was that a problem for your testers or for your objects?
So during user testing, we didn't run into this kind of scenario because the people that we were dealing with, they were able to access the platform both on mobile and as well as desktop. The testing was done with low digital literacy being the only problem statement in mind. But yeah, I can totally relate to it with another project wherein we had a similar problem statement, and I think we were using a subnav, a two-level subnav, and it was really tricky for people to get to the level two and get to the content which is going to be important for them over there. But yeah, I think I think in those cases, if we're specifically looking at like if our how do I put it, if our audience is if the site audience is going to be more of challenged people, in that case I would definitely recommend a simpler navigation menu. Put everything right in front of people for them to be able to access it faster, rather than putting it behind a hamburger menu or putting it in the sub nav. That's the ideal. Keep your sitemap as simple as possible. Yeah.
I have a question. Were there any scenarios where you had a feature or, part of your navigation maybe where you had two different cohorts that had different needs, and how did you resolve that if those conflicts did arise?
I think there were feedbacks, but they were unidirectional. I don't think we ran into a conflicted state. That was us being lucky, I would say. But yeah, I think we had different kind of conflicts, but that was more related to, since this platform was supposed to be private, confidential to people, and there were data analysts who wanted to gather data as well. So that's where we had some conflicts. And there's another talk on the same platform tomorrow around how do you design for privacy, where we'll be discussing more in depth about it, sort of challenges that we faced during discovery along those areas.
Thank you. Any more questions? Well, thank you very much, guys. Oh, there's another one. I take my thank yous back.
Hi, thanks for the talk. It was great. What icon, did you use a certain kind of icon library for your icons, or did you create them yourself?
Prerna, you want to take this up?
So we have also connected with stakeholders and also with the clients, all of the users. So while with the testing also, we got the suggestion of the icons for the Laaha platform. Like they want to use heart instead of thumbs up. That is more that is more emotionally connected for them, and that's how we have landed for the usage of icon, like connecting back to forth with the users. And for the we do have a space library where we have the icons that is universally approved and that are used everywhere. And for such projects where we have user group that are, for example, women and girls, then we might change or not exactly use a design system, but take feedbacks from the user, like what kind of icons do you prefer, like what kind of icons that you connect more. Yeah.
Sorry, I really liked that. That was great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think for this project, the use case was very specific. We were catering to low digital literacy, as well as young women and young girls and women in low digital literacy areas. And yes, typically we rely on specific icon libraries. We also have an icon library of our own, which we are able to leverage across different projects. But over here, things had to be customized, I would say, to fit into the needs of the user group that we were looking at. Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. I think this is more a logistic question, but how many users did you have for the testing, and how did you perform the test? Was it like A/B testing on the platform, or was it more like fill in a form, give us feedback?
No. So the testing was performed on Figma prototypes. So the prototypes were given to them, and they were asked to go through certain journeys. And we were live looking at how they're, or if they're facing difficulties, and taking a note of it, what kind of difficulty they're facing in terms of being able to navigate, or being able to get to a specific use case, or being able to get to a section rather. So yeah, it was not an A/B test, or I mean, it was during the discovery phase of the project where the final designs were not even developed. So we did the prototyping, and those prototypes were user tested basically.
And can you share the number of testers as well?
I think in terms of number of users, we were looking at a group of 15, 20 people, but there were more number of journeys which were going through, which each one of these users were expected to go through.
Thank you.
Hi. Thanks for the talk. It was very entertaining, very nice. I have a question. How did you safeguard exactly the simplified language? Did you train like the content editors, or do you avoid like specific medical terms? Because, for example, I've never seen a terms and conditions in simplified language, for example, which is kind of an important part, because those people, the users, need to understand what their rights are, what the risks are, what they're exposed to, and stuff like that.
Right. So there are two parts of it. Like the generic interface language is something that we defined, or I would rather say our content editing team worked very closely with the customer on. Secondly, when you look at privacy policies and terms and condition pages, usually they are huge, and it takes, I mean, no one goes through it, honestly. Right. So the idea was to break it down into as many chunks as possible, as many specific actions as possible, tie it back with the interaction points where user is making those interactions on the site, number one. Number two, make it as visual and as simpler in terms of consuming. So we also had, in terms of policies, we also had videos which were available for users to go through. For example, in terms of usage guidelines, when you're adding a comment on a forum, or adding a new discussion on the forum, or for that matter, even if you're registering on the forum, there was a video which could give you a vocal information and a visual information, which was better consumable, I would say, compared to reading a huge policy or a terms and condition page.
Thank you. Unless anyone has any more questions, we're done. Awesome.
Great.
Whee.
Thank you everyone for making this one so interactive, guys. Thank you so much.